Welcome back to the Journey podcast. I am your host Imran Arshad, and in this episode I will talk to drifter, TV presenter and YouTuber Becky Evans about learning to drift, being a woman in a very male-dominated industry, and where her love of cars came from. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Today I have a very special guest who is Becky, also known as Queen B, or Queen B, also known as Becky Evans. I don't know which way around do you see it now?
Well, do you know what? It's when you're younger and you make, your handle on Instagram or YouTube or whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, Queen Bee, that's cool. When I was maybe 16, 17, but I'm now unfortunately 28 and it's not quite as funny. So I tend to go by Becky Evans, but you'll never get away from it. So yeah, Queen Bee, that's me.
Okay, cool. And for people who may not know who you are, because there may be some people out there listening or watching that don't, do you want to explain who you are and what it is that you do? Because obviously people see you on YouTube, but I know you're much more. I don't even class you as a YouTuber. You're just someone who does something else, but you are on YouTube as well.
I was like, Imran, no one knows who I am. Let's not big me up too much.
They know.
Podcast. So yeah, I guess I'm a content creator, presenter. What other stuff do I do? Do drifting as well.
Drifting in a car.
I do a bit of motorbike content as well. So yeah, I mean, basically I started off as a content creator and then it's kind of led me into other paths. So I do live broadcast presenting for Redbull and also a bit for ITV, to the Speed Weeks and things like that, and some fun stuff. And then yeah, I make my videos on YouTube and yeah, do some drifting, do some bike riding, do some car stuff. Love it.
Awesome. So you are living your dreams.
Yeah, I mean, they say that, don't they? They're like, oh, do something you love. You'll never work a day in your life, except it's like I get heart palpitations at the amount of work that I have.
But then you do more work because you love it so much, right? That's the trap.
Yeah. You know what? Like, it is fun. I cannot complain whatsoever. Like, I'm blessed to be able to do this day in, day out of my life. And it's always evolving. It's always changing. Like, I'm learning. And yeah, it's a good way to live my life. I mean, I get to play with cars and talk about cars and just mess around with cars all the time.
So the podcast is going to be a bit more than just about cars, but that's where I want to start because that is the common denominator between most of the guests that I'll have on initially. So where does the love of cars come from?
That comes directly from my dad. From as long as I can remember, I was always at Santa Pod. I was always at a drag race track with dad. You know, I grew up with my mum having kind of a cool car. Like, she had a 73 Mach 1 Mustang. And then my dad had cool cars through the years. Like, he always had import things. So he brought in like 1959 Chevy Bel Air. He had the big Ford F-150 truck. He also had his Singer Vogue, which he used for drag racing. And then my brother followed suit. He was into his Japanese cars. He had the Evo 6. And then, it was just written in the stars. I didn't know any better. I just grew up around cars. And then got into drag racing and go-karting and just very much a motorsport automotive family, to be honest. And yeah, just carried on. And that's
okay, cool. So that's a really eclectic mix of cars. So you got like US domestic market going, you got JDM cars. And so you mentioned drag racing. So was that like proper drag racing at Santa Pod?
Yeah. So my dad's still very much involved in it. He writes the rules for British drag racing. He's like the UK.
Oh, wow. Cool.
UK representative to the FIA for drag racing. Like, so he does this thing. He loves it. He'll talk to you all day long about quarter miles and cubic inches and 9-inch rear ends and this, that, and the other. Like, my dad's like the oracle, the fountain of knowledge. Like, if I can ring my dad up and be like, Dad, like, what is it like a 351 Cleveland with a 9-inch rear? And he's like, yep, and that's that. And he'll just tell me and he'll go off on one about it. He's super knowledgeable and, a brilliant role model because he just loves it, Like, my dad was always like, you need to get up and go out and do something. And if it's drag racing, if it's cars, and whatever it is, enjoy it. Just no drugs. I was like, brilliant. Right?
But let's be honest, if you're into cars and modifying cars, I always say this to my friends, if your kids are into modifying cars, they're not going to have money to do drugs. They're not going to have money to do anything else.
That is true. And do you know what? Like, I lived with my dad on my own from the age of 14 onwards. And he always said to me, he was like, forget hair, forget nails, forget handbags, forget clothes. He was like, but if you need coilovers, fine. Like, that was the way it worked in our family. So that's why when I was 17, I had a sick 1.4 Mark IV Golf. Those two words have never been used in the same sentence before.
Okay.
That's
where I want to go to next, actually. So it's a good way to go into next section. That's your car history.
We have.
Take us through.
We have
your puppy.
Yeah, he's fine. I'm just waiting for this whole thing come crashing down on me. No, I think he's gone. Fine, he's fine. Okay, cool. Yeah, so carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, so that's what I want to go into now is your car history. So you talked about the sick Golf you had, but like start from the beginning. What was your first car and take us through what you've had since then?
Okay, so I had a little junior dragster when I was 14. I had a really cool imported junior dragster. I raced that on the track. So I always class that as my first car, if you will. Yeah. And I loved it. It was purple with an orange metal flake roll cage, and it had flames up the side. I know it sounds awful, but it had flames up the side of it, just like my dad hand painted the flames on his race car. And it was just like his. Loved it. Then I got 17, had a 1.4 3-door white, before they were cool, with aircon, Mark IV Golf, and loved that. Just loved it. And modified it, put wheels on it that were too heavy for it. It actually slowed it down. They were 19 by 9s, 19 by 10s, quad plated chrome, 3-piece. And I swear to God, like it wouldn't pull the skin off a custard anyway, but you'd be lucky if it did 60 down a hill. It was so heavy and it wrecked CV joints, wrecked drive shafts. Oh my God.
You're going for the scene look at that time.
Oh yeah, I was like if you ain't, what was it? It was like how the lower you are, the bigger your balls are, I think. Okay. So, cue my car just being a disgustingly hard ride. Do you know what I mean? It was, and I had a little 280 Momo steering wheel in it. So I looked like bloody Mario Kart when I was driving. No, just at that time, modifying was such a big thing. Like we would do all sorts, like, the front rub strip, you'd like put filler and, fill it up and paint it. So you got rid of the plate recess, and we would swap parts with people in the US because all the US guys wanted Europe spec stuff. So I swapped my bumpers with a guy in the US. So I had US spec rear bumper, US spec front. Oh no, I couldn't afford the US spec. That was it.
It was just to be different.
Yeah, like it was just a whole different scene. And there was just so much more to it. It was much, do you remember the days of getting your headlights and putting them in the oven to melt the glue and then to pull them apart so then you could tint them?
Inside, yeah. Like, and then put yellow tint on them to make them look like Euro lights, yeah.
Yeah, like severe effort went into modifying back then, severe. I had my coilovers and put polo top mounts in, cut the coil, cut everything, cut the bump stops off, wound them all the way down. It was disgusting drive, but it looked sick. We just do all these things, and just it blows my mind now when I think, I'm like, oh Christ, I have to put coilovers on my car, whereas then I was mad for it.
Yeah.
And so that was that car. Got to 21, realised I'd sank a small ship of, with the amount of money that I put into the Mark IV, as we all realised, and I was like, I want a classic. So then that's when I went on the hunt for the E21. Because my mom actually had an E21 when she was about 22, a Polaris silver, and saw a picture of it.
Your mom had good taste.
Yeah, she did actually.
Really good taste in cars.
She had I think she had a Mark III Cortina before that, and I was like, don't know. Yeah, the E21 that she had, I saw a picture of it because I was on the hunt. My boyfriend at the time had a Mark I Golf, and I was like, nah, I've been kind of done to death. Like there's Mark I's, Mark IIs are really big in the scene. Mm-hmm. And then, the E21 came about, that idea, and I was like, wow, yeah, no, I really need one of these. So, yeah, I bought that for £2,500 when I was 21.
And you still have that car?
Still have it. That will never leave my car. I'll be buried in that thing, Imran. It's like my calling card.
There's a meme going around at the moment, isn't there? The one that says, people ask me why have I spent so much money on the car, you can't take it with you, and they're basically showing themselves getting buried in the car. So that's going to be
my dad says the same thing. He's just like, this car will go with me to the grave. Always like, or it will be parked in your garage, so you have to look after it. But no, the E21 was the car that really sort of, I'd say, put me on the map, but I don't want to use that phrase. It was just, I just loved it. I put the air ride on it.
While we're talking about the E21, I think that's the first time I kind of found you, if that makes sense, because I think it was at a show. I think it was Ultimate Dubs or one of those shows, and I think we had a stand there. And I remember seeing the E21. I thought, oh, that's a really nice car. And then you see a girl driving it. And obviously that's not what you expect, right? You expect the way the car's been done up, just normal. You expect the guy to be driving, there's a girl driving it. Oh, that's even cooler. Yeah.
That was back in 2014. Ultimate Dubs was the first show I took it to. So I bought it in the October, and I bought the RS BBS RS for it in the December, and I was like, right, ultimate dubs. Remember, everybody would be like, ultimate dubs prep, UD prep, UD prep.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, I'm going to debut this car at UD, and whacked the gnarly steering wheel on it, put the air ride on it. I went to, I can't even remember the company now. Put the air ride on it, put the BBS, had them all polished, and oh my god, yeah, that's it. Just went mental.
And is this still in that same state at the moment? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, she's sweet. She's on the cusp of having an engine refresh. So I mean, more about that probably later. But it's the 4-cylinder M10. It was the one I could only afford to insure the 1.8, the 316. So I got the baby engine one. But she's a bit tired. She's starting to smoke a little bit. So I'm gonna refresh that. Maybe put some twin 45s. I think twin 45s. Put some carbs on it. And yeah, just make that really nice, because the engine bay was the only bit that I couldn't afford at the time to get painted. So I had the rest of the car, I had a bare metal respray, but I couldn't afford to get the engine.
What color is that?
It's henna rot, technically.
Yeah,
henna red. Okay. Original color. But yeah, no, sweet. Seats are all in. Love that. Air ride, BBS RS. I changed the offsets and I changed the dish size on the RS recently, because I was running 9s and 8s, I think. Or was it 9s and 9.5, something like that. And I changed it so that it's uniform all around. It had a much more pronounced staggered dish on the rear before, and I've just made them uniform because it had mental camber, and everyone was like,
yeah, cool. So what I'll do
growing
is
out of it. I was growing out of the whole mental camber thing. So yeah.
Yeah. So what we'll do is, while Matt's going to edit this video, I'll get him to find pictures of the car so we can put it up so people can actually have a look at it, because it is really nice. I like it.
No, I love it. It was just it really cut my teeth in this world of modifying cars. It's a whole new experience when you buy into a classic. I was like, what is throttle cable? What? Because I used to get peer pressured into doing one wheel peels, because I was like, as soon as I knew how to do a burnout, I was like, sick everywhere. Unopened diff in it. So it's like I was just abusing the poor thing. And I remember I was in a car show in Belgium, and they were like, go on, do it, Beck, do it. And I was like, all right. So I did it, and then I just felt the accelerator pedal just straight down to the floor, and I was like, oh my god, what have I done? And I looked in, and I just saw the throttle cable had snapped, and I was like, oh, wow. So I had to do like a rudimentary fix where I got my tweezers, wrecked my tweezers, had to pull the thread back through, and I had half throttle all the way back from
all the way back,
which in a 1.8 is about 40. It was anyway. You live and you learn.
Things like that, when they happen on a road trip or something, those are the ones you really remember. It's when stuff goes slightly wrong that it sticks in your head forever, and it's the adventure around the whole thing. Yeah, for sure.
I remember it so clearly, because I was in my head, my dad always, the resounding words in my head, his dad's always like, if you think you're about to do something cool in front of your mates, don't do it. Because he's like, that's when it's going to go wrong, Becky. And he's so true. And as an older person, I'm like, yeah, he was so right. But no, peer pressured. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, well, you never, let's be honest, when you're younger, your parents always give you the best advice, but you don't actually know it's the best advice until you're older yourself, and you think, you know what? They were actually giving us the right advice. We just thought we were too clever to listen to what they had to say.
Drink, always eat before you go out for a drink. That was always the big one for me. to me, at least into my 20s to figure that one out.
Yeah, wise man. So what happened? What was after the E21 then?
Oh, E21. I sold the Mark IV Golf to go traveling. Then I had the E21, and then randomly I had an A3S line for a bit, but that didn't really see the light of day. Let's move on from that one. Yeah, whoops. Had that, and then what have I got now? Then I bought the Abarth.
Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, at the minute I've got 5. Yeah, 5 at the minute. The Abarth, bought that, absolutely loved it. To this day, great cars. Great cars. And that had all the intake system, intercooler, all of this stuff on it. From Forge, that was 210 brake, had that remapped, had some really cool Tarox brakes on it. Loved it, little track weapon, really good fun. And then I sold that, and I bought the F80 M3. Yeah, I bought the F80 M3.
The yellow one, which has been down to us, and it's got some of our bits.
Yeah, it's got your wonderful intake system on it. Which is
that's how we got introduced through that car.
Yes, it is.
Because of Amar. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, no, the intake system's sick on that. Just really cool. Brings the whole of the engine bay together. Really nice. Yeah, I got the F80 M3. And then what turned up after that? I got the S15 after I got the drift car.
This is your drift car, yeah, which we'll come to after this.
S15 after I did Drift Queen. I recently acquired my brother's Evo 6 because he thought about selling it. So I was like, having that.
You've got an Evo 6?
Yeah, Mitsubishi.
How did I miss that?
Yeah, I know. It's
honestly.
It just happened. My brother was thinking about selling it, and I was like, nah. So I bought that off him. And
GSR?
GSR? GSR, yeah, GSR, yeah. Wicked thing, wicked. So much fun. Really, really talky. Short gear ratios. Great to have fun. I drove it took it out for a drive through the day, and I was like, I've forgotten how much I love this thing.
They are awesome cars. I spent a lot of time in one, probably around 2008, because my uncle had an Evo 6 Tommy Mac.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I used to drive it like all the time. Had Olin's coilovers, R888Rs, had a roll cage in it. The car was just like, to this day, driving that on a B road, I don't think anything could touch it.
Do you know what it is? It ignites the child in you, because you're just like, wow, like pulling through gears. And you just know, because it's 4-wheel drive, you'll be like, probably get myself out of this one, no problem. Like, gives you quite a lot of confidence on the road, because I'm so used to rear-wheel drive cars where I'm like, oh my God, it's going to step out, you know, like it's just a different driving experience. But yeah, definitely. Great. So
have you had a go in the Yaris GR yet?
No, really want to have a go in those, but I just felt, I was like, I'm going to wait till like the hype kind of dies a little bit, because there is so much GR content out there at the minute. I think we're probably going to get one in Ireland though. So me and James are going to get a GR Yaris in Ireland and be able to take it on some rally roads. Yeah, because he knows his family background's rallying. So he just knows all the best places to go and do that. I think it makes for some fun content, especially if that lunatic's behind the wheel anyway. Yeah.
So at this point, I don't want to go too much into James, because this podcast is about you. But for people who don't know, we're talking about James Dean, who is one of the best drifters in the world. D1 and D2 champion.
No, he is 3-time FD.
Yeah.
6-time Europe. 6 or 7-time Europe.
Yeah.
And then I think like 5 or 6-time Irish. 3-time Middle Eastern. Yeah, it's a lot. I think it's about 16 or 17 titles, I think.
Yeah, he's just a very, 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 very good. He's at the top of his game. And the funny thing is, when you came to our place and I was talking to James all day, do you know, I did not know who he was.
Yeah, he's very humble. He's just
I didn't know who he was. And then I went back into the office, and one of the guys goes, "Is that James Dean?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think that's his name." And they're like, "Imran, do you not know who he is?" I'm like, "Not really." And he's like the best drifter in the world. I'm like, "Oh wow." And then I think I told you this, but I went home and told my son, and my son's a massive James Dean fan. And like James sent some stuff over for him recently, and he was like really emotional about receiving it. It's so cool. Yeah. But maybe I'll get James on the podcast later on.
You should. We'll revert back to you. He's hilarious, because for someone who's so prolific in his field, he's just so laid back, and he's just like, you know, he's like, take every day as it comes. You know, his phrase is one step at a time. And I'm like, yeah, well, your steps are slightly bigger than mine. He's trying to give me life advice. He's wonderful.
But you know what happens? The further I've noticed is, the further I've advanced in my career, the steps actually get easier, and they do get bigger. And I'm sure that you've noticed that as you've progressed in your career. At the beginning, everything seems like a struggle. You have to fight for every one of those little ones. But the longer you're around and the longer you're doing things the right way, those opportunities do come to you, and you can take the bigger steps. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's still a struggle. Like every day it's something new, isn't it? And especially when you're looking to differentiate yourself. I mean, I'm talking from my own experience here. It's like content moves so fast. The internet moves so fast. There's a new platform. There's a new this. There's a new that. You know, there are so many ways that you can change, and people are just jumping ship all the time. And so you have to be able to adapt. And, you know, my thing I always wanted to do was to be a presenter, you know, like I wanted to be on a show. That was like, wow, that's what I'd love to do when I'm older. But then it was when my actual break into presenting, it was just being dropped in the deep end. Red Bull basically looked at me and said, sorry about that. Red Bull kind of looked at me and said, well, do you reckon you can handle live broadcasts? And I just said to him, I was like, oh, I mean, maybe. And they were like, well, go on then, here's a shot. And that was
I
it.
can't even
I
imagine
was
doing live
live.
broadcast. It's hard enough pre-recording things like YouTube, where you have like you can do as many takes as you want, but to do live broadcasting, honestly, that takes a lot of guts.
Yeah, and I just had to throw myself in there, and it was a sink or swim situation. It was like either you carry this show, you catch, or you don't, you know.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my fight or flight kicked in. I mean, after the first sort of bit that we did in the show, I was shaking so much I thought I was going to be sick, because it's so much adrenaline. Like live broadcast is pure adrenaline. Like when I did but you know, and you have to be okay with your mistakes. I did good speed week, and I was grand all day, absolutely fine, walking around, chatting to people, loving it. So then I've got to interview my boyfriend. I've got to interview James, because he's won the two-wheel drive, you know, drift Kana that they did, and I'm like, well, and coming over here to our two-wheel drive winner, congratulations, James Dinner. James Dean is the winner. And he was like, well, I was quite hungry, actually. I was like, oh my God. I'm live. Yeah.
So this is someone who you speak to like all the time. It's just like, it's your partner. And
I live with.
Wrong then. That's ridiculous.
I live with, and I'm calling my own boyfriend James Dinner. Like, what? And you know, like you just have to roll with the punches. You have to laugh it off, and it makes you tough. You know, like it makes you, because you're just like, right, just got to crack on with it. Game face. You can't just like fall apart. But you know, like as you say, broadcast is another step again. But you just keep stretching yourself, and the shows get bigger, and the opportunities get bigger. And you know, if you'd have said to Becky 3 years ago, you're going to carry a live show or be live on ITV, I'd have probably thrown up. You know, it's just it wasn't something that I thought I was capable of. But as you say, when business moves along, you just go, yeah, go on then. I'll try it.
Go with it. Yeah. So just before we move on to Red Bull and drifting and everything, which I want to come to, you missed out one of your cars, which is probably my favorite.
I didn't forget. I got distracted, started talking about something now. Yes. So I'm guessing you're talking about the 930.
Yep.
Yeah. My baby, my new baby. Christ. Beautiful. Yeah, unreal, really. Like that was a bit of a heart in my mouth situation. I saw it and I was like, whoa. Look at that. And I've been, you know, it's the poster car. It's the car that I looked at all the time when I was a kid. I'd post photos constantly of turbos all the time. Like I used to post a lot of 964s thinking I wanted one of them. But then I was like, hold on a minute, that 930 turbo, 911 930 turbo is the original Widowmaker. It's the cool car. It's the one that everyone's like, oh, careful, you'll crash it. You know, it was the one that we all sort of looked at as a kid and was like, yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Saw it come up. Panicked, ran around the yard in Ireland. I was like, I'm about to spend this money and I've never seen this car. And thankfully, Adrian at Williams Crawford was really good with me. He was like, he's quite eccentric and, you know, quite genteel. And then you've got like me, a covbird on the phone, like, yeah, I'm sorting it out. Just let me move some stuff around. I need it. Oh, I need it, Adrian. I need it. And he was like, all right, calm down. We'll save it for you. Relax. Because I was in Ireland and not coming back for a couple of weeks. And he was like, he's a car dealer at the end of the day, isn't he? So he's like, well, I've got a couple of people looking at it this afternoon. So like cue my blood pressure going through the roof. I was like, I'll sell the dog. I'll do anything. Like, what are we doing? How are we doing this? Like, and managed to bring it home, and it's beautiful. I just look at it. I look at it, and I'm like, wow, look at that.
So when you bought that and you put it up, I was so happy for you because it's like I knew that was one of your dream cars, and as soon as you bought it, I had messages from people that know that I talked to you saying, does she want to sell it? Remember, I messaged you. I said, I've got a friend who wants to buy it. And you're like, well, when the time comes, I'll let you know.
Again, it's one of those things that I was like, hold on a minute. So it's paint to sample. It's, no sunroof, no rear wiper blade, like serious. It's a serious car. Like for, it's a rare car, and the color as well. And like green is very much a thing right now. Moss green metallic it is. And it just ticked all the boxes. And he said, there are a couple of things that need doing on it. He was really honest with me. He was like, third gear synchro sounds a bit, and I was like, doesn't matter. Don't care. I was like, as long as it's not, as long as it's not smoking, as long as it's not leaking oil, as long as it's not, any of these like real red flags, I'll have it. And I took it on and couldn't believe it. Still can't believe it, to be honest. It's still one of
still pinch yourself.
Yeah,
mine.
massively.
It's actually
When I
mine.
get it, when I get it back, which is in about 2 weeks. So I left it down. That was before Christmas. I went to Ireland for Christmas, came back. I said, look, do everything on it. Take the engine out. I want to, check all the seals, check the valve clearances, check what that oil, all of these things. I said, take the whole lot out. I put the money aside because I knew if I was going to buy it, I'd want to invest the money in it. So when I get to it, it's mint. Mm-hmm. Completely mint. And also I said, you know what, put a diff in it as well. I was like, because it's an open diff, and I was like, I've learned my lesson.
I know you can't have open diff.
I was like,
cannot have a rear wheel drive open diff. It's not happening.
Exactly. So I was like, right, I think I'm either putting in a ZF or a Quafe. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, putting the LSD in it. And yeah, a few little cosmetic changes, i.e. steering wheel and the wheels, which I haven't really decided on yet. But awesome. Yeah, when I get it back, it should be a weapon. And you'll hear this here first. Everybody that because I got a load of blokes constantly being like, "Oh, careful, you're gonna crash it," and it's like, all right, fine. Like I
don't know who you are.
Oh, I know. They don't care. It's the fact that it's the fact that I happen to be female. I therefore quite obviously can't drive anything. The first video I'm going to do when I get it back is I'm taking it straight to a track.
Yeah, show them how it's done.
Well, I'll do a few practice laps first.
So that kind of leads me into neatly into something I wanted to ask you, and that was being a female in a very male-orientated industry, because there is not many females making automotive content. How have you found that? 'Cause some of the comments I see on your social media is just honestly horrendous. I'm not sure how you deal with that, but we'll come to that. But let's talk about how you fit in as a female into a male-dominated industry, how you found that, and how you've had to adapt or change if you've had to do that.
I get asked this question a lot, and do you know what? I guess from my point of view, I'm quite bloody minded. Do you know what I mean? I'm quite like, if I want to do it, I'm going to do it anyway. And my dad, obviously racing with boys when I was younger, you kind of just had to get on with it. You had to crack on with it. Personally, if you see yourself as anything different, that's where the inequality lies. I don't see myself any different to you, anybody, a boy, whatever. So it was just, I just cracked on. And I always was like, do you know what? My cars have got to be double sick, which is why I was always like, the E21 had to look class. The 930 has to look class. Like, it just pushed me to be better. More than anything. And the same thing when I started my videos and stuff, I wanted to create my own niche. I didn't want to ever do the same formula as everybody else. I knew I had my own interests. Like, I loved the classic car thing. I kind of loved the stancy thing. It was just, I had my own flavor that I wanted to bring to the table. And I just had to be quite headstrong. I'm not going to sit there and tell you it was easy all the time. Yeah, it sucks when all the boys are collaborating together and they don't want to collaborate with you because you're the girl. I've been literally cut off jobs because your man's missus doesn't like me. Stuff like that. It happens. Like, if there's 4 blokes going out for a pint, they don't always invite the bird because it just causes aggro. I'm being serious. You know what it's like. Yeah, I'm sure loads of other people do. So I had to become quite resilient in that sort of sense, because there's not many girls, so you create your own tribe, really. You have like a few select mates and you just get on. And in some ways it's worked to my advantage. Yes, when I started my YouTube channel, I had a look around in the UK space and I was like, well, hello. Who is there?
No one there. There's no one
there. Yeah. So it was a chance for me to jump. And also my background's in PR and marketing, so I was working at the cusp of when print media was starting to decline. And I was the one who was in charge of sourcing the bloggers for the fashion brands to start paying. And I was like, whoa, we are paying this woman a lot of money for a video. And I was like, okay, there's something in this. And actually it was Lenny the geezer. You have to thank Lenny the geezer for all of this, because Lenny was the one who connected my current management with me. He was like, yo, these boys are interested in you. Like that.
Obviously.
He was like, these boys are interested in you. They really want to have a girl on their books. And I was like, all right, go on then, I'll have a meeting with them. And he was like, sound, and passed me the details. And Lenny the geezer is the reason I am where I am today.
Oh, awesome.
Well, I wouldn't quite say that, but you know what I mean? He was the person who started.
He was the catalyst.
Definitely. I'm forever and eternally grateful to him. Big time.
Okay, cool. So I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but how do you deal, because it might be useful for other people to know, it seems like you're quite headstrong and you've always been around guys, but how do you deal with negative YouTube comments? Because that's not just because you're a girl, other people get it as well, but I find that you get it unfairly worse, if that makes sense. Some of it's actually horrendous.
Yeah, it is. It's not nice. It's not nice, some of it. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, we all know what the internet's like. There are a lot of people out there that are upset, angry, depressed, not very happy with their lives. And it's actually considered a form of psychopathy, because that person is just like, yeah, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ruin her day. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make you look at yourself differently in the mirror. They will pick anything about me. They will pick my hair, my makeup, my lips, my teeth, the way I talk, the way I don't talk, the way I drive, the way I can't drive, the way I do this, the way I do that, the way I shoot it, the way I... Do you know what? Anything that they can pick at. So at the end of the day, I just got to the point where I'm like, oh, fucking hell. All right, fine. Like, I'm fat shit, can't drive. Let's get on with the video now, shall we? You know, like...
Yeah. You like basically say that back to them, well, it doesn't really bother you. You can say what you want. I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway.
Exactly. And that's what they want you to do. They want you, again, I've said this before on podcasts, and I'm sorry if you don't have swearing, you can beep this bit out. I'm driven very much by a huge fuck you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you don't think I can do it, watch me. Yeah. So if I have a load of people, it's fuel more than anything. It should be your fuel. If people think that they can try and stop you and bring you down and say all these bad things, fine, go on then. I'll show you. You know, and that's always been a huge like push for me, because the more people see you, as I've grown, it's got exponentially worse because there's more eyes on you.
Yeah,
I am a girl. Yeah, you are in a very male-dominated world, so it's very easy. Then there's only so many times you can tell me I'm fat. There's only so many times you can tell me I'm ugly, and it's just like, fine, if you think that, cool. Like, so you just have to crack on with it. Now, the lips thing really winds me up, because you know what, mate? If I had my lips done, I'd be fully there. Like, had them done.
Yeah, had them done. But you haven't.
And I haven't had them done. Yeah. And they just constantly talk about it, and I'm just like, oh my god, like, what is the obsession? What is the obsession? But whatever, you know.
Yeah. So essentially, you deal with it like we do. We get a lot of negative comments, not as bad as you, but it can be about anything. But the way I see it, people are going to find something to bitch and moan about anyway. You can't make everyone happy, so you just got to do you, and that's what's got you to where you are anyway. So I just say ignore the haters, as it were. But I think the bigger you get, because you're on 100,000 subs now on YouTube.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
and it's about the same on Instagram.
Yeah, 123, I think it's.
And the bigger you get, and I think it's a sign of success on YouTube when you start getting those comments, because I think when you start early on, it's all your own supporters and they really want you to do well. But when you get bigger and it's just general people finding your content, and they'd say, who's this guy? Who's this guy? What like, I got it when we first started. They were like, why is this guy making content about BMWs? What does he know? Yeah. Because they think before YouTube, you weren't anybody. Like, I've been dealing with them for ages. I know a little bit about them, but it's bizarre like that.
Yeah, because people just love to pick. People just love to criticize. They just enjoy it, because at the end of the day, you're doing something that they don't have the balls to do, and they're just like, yeah, well, makes me feel better inside if I think you're shit.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, that's it. It's a reflection on them. So, Imran, I'm just going to grab my laptop charger. It's just
sure. You do
that. Okay, sorry. I'm acutely aware. I was like, I forgot to plug it in. It's going to run out. Are we doing okay? Am I swearing too much? Sorry if
No, it's fine.
I'm bad for that.
I don't think when we upload stuff onto YouTube, we don't have it as safe for children, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, no good. No, none of my
it's fine.
My entire existence is not safe for children. So
we got an advert for Gymshark there while you were collecting your charger.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Yeah, sorry. Oh. I just pretty much sit down on the camera. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
There's an OnlyFans coming soon. Yeah. Jesus.
OnlyFans. How many times do you actually get asked that? I bet you get asked, are you doing OnlyFans?
Yeah, I get asked it a little bit, but because I'm not, my social profile, I'm not really the sexy girl, am I? I'm like the girl that pokes fun at herself.
Yeah.
And has a laugh, and I get more lesbians than I get people I get more girls asking me if I like girls than I get people asking me if I'm getting an OnlyFans. So that's obviously the vibe that I give off. I'm very much alpha female.
Alpha female, exactly. More power to you.
Yeah, I think people know of me enough to know that is just not my vibe. I wouldn't do it. And nothing against them if they want to do it.
No, people want to make the money that way. They're not harming anyone. Fair play to them.
Exactly. You're playing to your market at the end of the day. If you know that there is a sea of customers there, do your thing, girl. It's not for me.
Yeah. So let's go back to the drag racing now and actual cars and drifting. So you said you were drag racing from a young age. How did you transition from drag racing into drifting?
My God, there's about 10 years in between that happening. I was 20. Yeah, last time I got into my junior drag, so I think I was 16. I was 26 when I started drifting. Well, at the end of the day, drag, motorsport's expensive. Yeah. It's really expensive. So I did junior motorsport. I did go-karting, and then I went into junior dragsters. And then, as the story goes, we didn't have any money. My mum and dad got divorced. So it was like a big change in my life, and all the fun stuff had to kind of stop because that's just what happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it was always like a personal thing for me that I wanted to I always said to dad, I said, if I'm going to go back onto a track, I want it to be off my own back, and I don't want it to ever cost you a penny. Like, I want it to be off my, I wanted to do it myself at the end of the day. I knew I wanted to get back on a track, but I was like, I don't know how long this is going to take me or whatever. And then cue the drifting coming around, and I was, the Redbull series happened, and I was like, I saw it's accessible in as much that going roundy racing, as I like to call it, grip racing, is a super inaccessible sport. It's really expensive unless you can do your track days and stuff in your smaller cups. But I just like the way everybody loves skidding a car, don't they? I just love the feeling of going drifting. It was really fun. So that was really how it came about. I wanted to get back into a motorsport, but drag racing, loved it. I wanted to build a 66 Nova. I wanted a big block 66 Nova all my life. Still do. It might happen just yet. But the drifting opportunity with Redbull came around, and I was like, yeah, bang, that's what I want to do. So
you actually learned to drift properly on that show?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. So just for people who don't know, Becky went on a show. What was it called?
Oh, Drift Queen.
Drift Queen. So Drift Queen. And that was, who taught you to drift in that show?
Selection of people, really. Okay. I mean, that's where I met James.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's where I met James whilst I did that show. I had a couple of different teachers here and there, like one of our Drift Masters drivers, Matt. Can't remember his second name, but Matt. Mm-hmm. I had Matt. He was one of our... I know. It's God, my brain's just gone blank.
So what happened?
He's a BDC. He was a BDC, British Drift Cup, which is Drift Championship driver. He taught me a little bit as well. And Julian Smith from Garage D, he taught me bits and bobs. And it was just a bit of a journey, really. And then obviously James, and then he taught me more of the craft of it. So the first series, I'd say, was pretty much the theory and just learning the very, very, very basics. And building the car. But when I say building a car, it was putting on some hubs and doing a diff and putting a handbrake in. Really, really simple mods, like the first mods that you would do if you were going to get a drift car. And then the second series, it was like, right, bang, you've got 8 weeks to go to your first competition and qualify. And I was like, But that was all part of the fun, because I thought, if we're going to do a series, I didn't want it to be the first series. I'd never done something like that before. So there was some parts of it that I felt weren't true to me, because I was leaning, the producers were steering it way more than I would have been, because I was green, I hadn't done it before. And I knew my mind a lot better the next year. You've done it once, you're like, right, this is how I'd like it to go. And I wanted there to be a real challenge element in it. I didn't want people to be like, oh, fucking hell, here she comes back again with a drift show. And it's like, what are you going to do now? Fly around the world and, kick tires? Yeah. I wanted there to be a real competition element in it. So that's when we entered Drift Cup. And I knew, as I had 8 weeks, I said, look, just qualify. Just qualify to get into the field, put your runs down and be able to qualify. And that's what I was training for. And then you watch the whole process of me, crying, getting angry, hurting myself. Like it was really special to me, because it was like, wow, I did that.
Awesome. And what are your plans for future then in drifting? You know, to try and enter some more competitions? You want to do that more competitively?
Definitely. The car is a work in progress. I'm still running the stock SR20 engine in there, and I've got an S14 5-speed box in there as well. I want to upgrade that. Eventually I would like to go to something a bit more spicy, whether you do a stroker kit on the SR20 or you go to a 2J. James is obviously the master of the 2J, so he was like, I mean, I would technically go that way. I just want to develop the car and have fun with it. The car is in Ireland. Because there's a lot more, I find there's a lot more friendlier people in the drift scene in Ireland, but you know, that's a whole another conversation.
Let's be honest, Irish people are more friendly.
Yeah, they're killer. Love them. Love it over there. Yeah. That's where I'll end up. I'm telling you. I'll have my dogs and I'll end up in Ireland. Just love it. I do. I really do.
And your cars?
Yeah, defo.
Take them over.
Yeah, exactly. Because with a classic car, they have something called... you have to clear the plates or something. Is it NCT? Can't remember. Somebody will know. And it's really expensive. But if you have a classic car, it's super cheap. So you can have the 930, the E21, whatever. No bother. If it's over a certain age, you're grand. So
what are the local roads like in Ireland to drive? You know, like we've got some decent B roads. What's the road surface quality like? Because I've heard mixed reviews.
Mixed reviews. Yeah, I was about to say mixed reviews. Probably. I mean, they didn't have a motorway up until about 10 years ago. I know Irish people that would much rather. They're like, I can't take the motorway. It gives me vertigo. Do you know, like, because they're so used to driving country lanes. And he's in rural North Cork, so he's just outside a place called Mallow, which is about 35 minutes away from Cork. Mm-hmm. Mental roads around there, amazing. You can drive up the mountain. It's wicked. Yeah. So you have really, really cool, good fun roads, but some surfaces are better than others, and they're pretty much like single carriageways all the way. But yeah, some really, really cool roads around there.
Okay, cool. So with the drifting as well, because I would really love to learn drifting. I've never actually got round to doing it because I've been so busy with business. I go to Japan every year as well. Obviously, it's very big over there. I drive the Toge roads. Have you found drifting actually makes you a better driver? Because a lot of people said to me, because they learn where the edge of the car is and kind of keep the car there, it just improves their driving skills no end.
Yeah, definitely. Because at the end of the day, it's being able to... Drifting essentially is the art of controlling a car which is out of control. Right. You know, so you're learning all the concepts of throttle input, steering input, you know, even to a degree, like your brakes, your gears, everything. You're just controlling the car when it's out of control. So when you get yourself, I mean, you know what it's like, you'll go up the gears, and say if you pull the gear aggressively, it's gonna twitch, isn't it? People sometimes don't know what to do in that situation, or the car starts to come into a bit of a spin. Yeah, I say a bit of a spin on the road as like it's a small thing, but when your car breaks traction, knowing what to do inherently is just, it's such a lifesaver, I think, to be honest. If you hit a patch of ice, of oil,
what to do?
The car just twists. If you know what to do in a sense of to counter steer, to give it a little more, or to just sort of hold it, like you have an innate sense of that you're like, oh, okay, this is fine. Whereas like some people just are like, just drop the steering wheel, get on the brakes, and sometimes it can end up in an accident. Whereas like smaller things can be avoided. So personally, I would say, I feel like everyone go out and do some skids. You'll be personally,
in a safe environment.
Yeah, there you go. On a track with a seasoned professional and all safety equipment. There we go. Yeah, I do genuinely. It's definitely made me a better driver. Like I can enjoy my F80 M3 because when it does twitch, I'm not worried. Yeah. I'm not bothered. It's almost fun, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? First, second, bang, like little sideways. Yeah. I love it. It's just loads of fun.
They love going sideways. So obviously we just bought a Huracan. I don't know if you saw the green one we got.
I did. Congrats. Love it. Love the colour.
Yeah, same colour as the M3. And it's got Pirellis on it. And it was wet, and I was coming off a roundabout, and I basically had two moments in it already. And this was a tank slapper. Literally just snapped sideways on me. Truck was next to me, opposite lock one way, opposite lock the other way. And then it just straightened out. And I just ordered Michelin PS4 straight away. Yeah. And the car is completely different. It's like I was hating the car at that stage. I was like, shit, I can't believe this is a Lamborghini. But now those tires are on there, had the alignment sorted out. It actually feels enjoyable to drive now.
Makes such a difference, man.
Yeah.
I've heard a few times. I'm being honest with you. I had an ex-boyfriend who had a Ferrari FF, and he had Pirellis on it, and I remember driving it and I was like, holy shit, like this is sketching me out. Like,
Yeah, sketchy. This is exactly the word I use. It's
sketching me out, because it's like if you hit a puddle, forget it, mate. Just you're a passenger. Do you know, like, it wasn't so much an enjoyable experience. Whereas, you know, the Michelins, I mean, I've always run Michelins on my car. So I actually got Falcons on the F80, and they're really good, really grippy, actually.
Which model is that?
Zenith? Is it a Zenith?
Okay. Yeah, I've not tried those ones.
Yeah, they're really good, actually. But yeah, tires make such a huge difference. So having spent the years, and as I'm sure you have as well, when we're younger, just like finding the ditch finder tires, anything from your Nankangs to your triangles to your this to your that, going up and actually being able to afford good tires, you appreciate them so much more. The triangle tires I had on my Mark IV Golf, they did not ever wear. In the end, they cracked.
They're so hard. Yeah, they're so hard.
So hard that they just cracked. I was like, the tread depth's absolute sound. Look at the state of them. And they were like, yeah, just forget it. They are fucked. Like,
yeah, I think the worst tires I ever had were called Wanleys or something. I don't know if you remember them, but I can't remember where they came from or what car they were on. But yeah, I just remember them lasting forever. And the same situation. It's like, oh, these are really good. They last for ages. But yeah, I guess we take it for granted, because now it's like, it's something I would never scrimp on. Like, a car has to have good tires. Otherwise, it's just not the same. It's the only thing that's actually keeping you in contact with the road. So it's as important as anything else. And I don't understand why manufacturers will build a car like a Ferrari, or even, so, you know, the new M3, M4 comes with Pirellis.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm test driving that on Monday, the 8th.
I'm there.
Yeah. You're there? Okay, brilliant. So you'll be there as well. I'm really intrigued to drive it. Is it on Pirellis? Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, Michelin's. I think we should buy some shares in Michelin, because I think they're going to go up, because everyone's going to swap the tires.
What's your opinion on the M3, M4, Imran? I really want to know.
What, in looks wise?
She's growing on me. She is growing on me.
I'll be honest with you. I'll be completely honest. I don't love it. And I don't hate it. I'm really undecided. Yeah. And the thing is, every previous generation of M3, because I've owned every generation of M3, and I still own the E92 as well, and the F80. When they came out, I looked at them and I was like, I want that car.
Yeah.
Don't look at this one and crave it. It's like, I have to have one because of work and business, but I don't look at it and get super excited about it. I almost feel a little bit let down, but let's spend some more time with it, have a look at it.
Podcast in itself, that
very much is. So a lot of people have asked my opinion. I'll say I don't love it, I don't hate it, but I don't know if you've seen, but we've actually redesigned the front end for it.
Yeah, so, the
Evero, yeah. So I'm interested to actually get that on the car and see what it looks. I've seen it in 3D renders and everything. I've not released a lot of what we've done. I've only put up teasers so far.
Nice.
So I'm interested to see what it looks like. I mean, we've ordered the car. It's coming end of March or beginning of April.
What colour did you go for? Is that secret?
I can't say.
Did you go M3 or M4?
Individual though, because...
Did you go M3, M4?
M3.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Because I think it just looks more butch. But that's the reason I went F80 as well. I don't need the extra doors. I just think it looks better than the F82.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I was always much more, because of the way the door sits, the rear door sits into the rear arches, just makes it look fat. That was always the thing that I loved about it. It's like, I don't need 4 doors. I don't need it at all. But it's just the way the car looks so heavy when you're following it.
Yeah.
I just was like, I had to have it. But
yeah,
I think the F80 will be leaving me in a few months. I think it will be. Okay. Yeah, and I think I'm going to go backwards. I genuinely think I am. Yeah.
Backwards in time on M3s, or backwards in time for something else?
No, backwards in time in M3s. I think I'm going to get an E92.
Yeah. So our plenum on James's cars obviously got a massive part of that decision.
I was like, what is happening? This is amazing. And because he's got the manual one as well, I was like, this is so much fun to drive. I love it. And I just loved it. And I'm bombing around Ireland in that, and I was like, hold on a minute, like I'm enjoying this so much more. And as you say, as you get older, you have a collection of cars where each one does something different for you. Do you know?
Yeah.
And what did you say?
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said, yeah, kind of. And I was like, what do you mean?
No, I said I know. What do you mean?
Yeah, so each one does something different for you. And I've scratched the M3 itch with the F80. I scratched it. You know, I was like, yeah, I really love it. But now I'm thinking I would love the manual E92 because I just love the way it sounds. I love the way it sounds. It's the last of the V8s. You know, we're going into an era where these engines are just not going to be around so much anymore. And I want to own one. Because I love the way the F80 looks, but I just prefer the way the E92 sounds. So I think I want to invest in one before these things become a rarity.
Prices are going up.
They are all the time. Shh, I'm not buying one. Shh, none of you buy one. None of you. So that's kind of that. That's the rationale behind that decision. But I may get something else. I don't know. I'll see what happens.
Yeah, but I'll be completely honest with you. The F80, yes, it makes a daily driver. But if the F80 is there and our E92 is there, and you say to me, we're going out for a Sunday drive, I'm taking the E92.
Yeah, all day. And people don't understand that. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's like now cars have got too powerful. They're too fast for the road. Loss of traction is fun every now and again. But like the E92 is so progressive because it's so linear in its power delivery. It's very controllable, very playful. And the noise, it's just the whole experience. I think as you get older, it's not all about 0 to 60 quarter miles, how fast you can go. It's how the car makes you feel. And I think that car makes you feel a certain way that just puts a smile on your face. Well, I have a theory these days. It's about what are you? You're feeling or you're flexing? Do you know, like it's that, isn't it? Is it? I would rather drive something which is maybe not as new, but makes me feel great because I'm enjoying this. And you literally hit the mark with everything on the E92. It's linear. It sounds amazing. You know, it's in the manual as well. It's wicked fun. Whereas the F80 is a bit more of a flexer. Like people are like, oh yeah, check her out. She's driving a new M3. It's like, the older you get, you give less of a shit.
Yes,
right. So I've got to that point, and then I'm like, meh, okay, fine, have my new car thing. It's fine. So I just think we don't know how much time we have left with these sorts of vehicles, with the taxation and blah blah blah, all the things I know that you don't want to talk about because it's like don't want to accept it. I don't want to accept it. It's happening. It is happening, man. I'd rather have something fun to drive and something that will become in time. Like, God, do you remember when they made cars like that? Which is why the collection is like Evo 6, 930 Turbo, E21, potentially E92. You know, it's just
amazing.
Just really different driving experiences. And I that's the way I want to go anyway. I was going to say something just then. Cars that are being too fast. The RS6, right, had that. Terrified. I spent most of the time shitting myself because I was like, oh my God, West Mercia police have got me. I'm done. Done. I come off the A46 and the M40, which is essentially Oxfordshire's Autobahn anyway. And so I like kicked it off from the A46 and I was like, yeah, okay, it's progressing. I was like, and then you look down and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to spend the night in the cells because it's so capable and it's got so much grip and it's so quiet. You know, that's the other thing. The engine note is really, really quiet in that. And it's so easy to slip over to speeds, which are just silly, really, do you know? And then when I say it's effortless, I mean, it's effortless.
Yeah, that's what I find in my F90. I mean, even it's 1,000 horsepower now, but even when it was 600 and something, it was still crazy. And with the M3, you go through a couple of gears and you put your foot down and you hear the plenum and you hear the noise and you're like, oh, I'm going really fast. And you look down, and you're like, 60 miles an hour. This is cool. This is actually like safe. Yeah, I'm having the same amount of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And Dad always said to me, he was like, gears 1 to 3, Becky, 1 to 3. How quickly you get off the lights is the fun part. You know, like how responsive it is in those first 3 gears is where you have all your fun anyway. He was like, once you're starting to kick up into your 4, 5, 6, he was like, then you're just doing silly speeds and it's dangerous. He was like, have your fun off the lights. But that's because my dad's a drag racer, do you know, like that's him all over, to be honest. So yeah, I just think, as you say, the capability of these cars and how fast they are. I was driving around in an adaptive cruise the whole time. Yeah, just chilling. if I wanted to blast past someone, it wasn't like, wow, it was just, you know, you're just gone. It's
just wafting
even
past.
for dust.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to ask you before we kind of wrap this up is, what's your biggest sort of pinch yourself moment? Because I've been watching your career, and like I look at some of the stuff you're doing, I'm like, wow, go Becky, you're doing some amazing stuff. It's like, for yourself internally, what, like, can you give us a story of when you're someone there and you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm actually.
Maybe I think one of the ones which I was, when I did, do you remember when I did the donuts outside the BBC building?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big one, because I was, you know, I had this whole crew building me essentially just at this whole flooring to cover up the front. You know, you see the front of the BBC building all the time.
It's iconic. Yeah.
And I was there, and there were all these people making this flooring so that I could drive in my silly car and do a bloody donut live on the One Show. And I was like, what is happening? What is happening? Do you know, this was 2018. I only started my channel about 18 months earlier, maybe less, a year or so. It all happened so quick. You know, like it was like a hockey stick growth curve. You just transported from being like a girl that could barely afford to pay her rent in London to then doing donuts outside the BBC. I was like, what? You know? And because I get really bad imposter syndrome, especially when you do presenting. You know, I was working with Dermot O'Leary at Goodwood Speed Week, and you're just he's like chatting to you, and he's like, hey Beck, how you doing? Oh, great job, you were really good at it. And you're like, hi. Do you know, like it's just a weird sensation. But you know, I'm very much a believer. Like, this is my life ethos before we go off on too much of a tangent, because I will, trust me. I'm very much that way.
It's fine. It's why this podcast is here to explore people's journeys, inspire other people who might want to go on the same one and be inspired by you. So go for it.
I used to look at life in a sense that it was about what car I had, what Gucci, just what stuff.
Material stuff.
It was all about stuff. And then I started to experience these mad things, like just real big experiences. Like when I was in Brazil doing the Redbull soapbox, and I was one of the presenters, and I was working with AJ Adodu, she does The Voice. She's like a big presenter, and I'm there working with her, and I'm just like, and it's just so crazy. And we're knocking back shots in Brazil, and it was, I just thought to myself, I was like, yeah, this is the life that I want. Something different every other week. This is the way I'm meeting interesting people. I love doing the interview. I love talking to different people and just being able to tell their story. It's more about flourishing as opposed to acquiring.
Yes.
You know, learn as much as you can, experience as much as you can, and just never take any of it for granted. I mean, I think we've all learned that in the last year and a bit, not to take all of it. I averaged 75 flights in 2019, 75 flights, I think it was, over the year. And going to nothing, I was like, oh my God, I used to jump on planes like they were buses. And now I'm stuck at home. And I'm like, how did I not appreciate this more? Yeah. So I just think, just enjoy every second and grab every opportunity, even if it seems so ridiculous that you're like, I can't do that.
Yeah, just do it.
You've got to, because then at least you can go back. I thought to myself, right, if I pile my S15 into the glass of the BBC building, all right, I fuck it straight through the barriers, at least I'll always be like, do you remember that girl?
You'll be remembered.
I know, stop, live on the One. Oh God, I genuinely thought it was gonna be sick. But then the feeling of euphoria that you get afterwards is always so much better than the feeling of nervousness that you get beforehand. 100%.
Yeah, and we always say that now as well. And I some people might be listening to this and think it's contradictory because we've just talked about what cars we have, right?
Yeah, so I know. Yeah, they're just like, right, shut up.
I see the cars as they're my business. That's what I make money out of. And essentially, you're into cars, but you do drifting, so you're using them for your content as well. Yeah. But it's experiences over things.
Yes,
it's going like some of the experiences we've had when we're traveling for work. So we, like you, we travel a lot. So I go and visit my distributors abroad. And we go to Japan and we do crazy things. It's like
you're busy.
Yeah, I'm busy. So we go to Japan, and one of my distributors says to me, what do you want to do tonight? Like, we'll take you out for dinner. What is it that you want to do? And I know that one of their employees is very into the street racing scene.
Yeah, I remember.
And I say to them, I want to go street racing. Yeah. And they're like, you what? And I'm like, I want to go street racing. And they're like, are you sure? And we're like, I'm positive I want to go street racing, right? So they clear it with their boss, and the boss comes and says, okay, that's fine. You can take him. So it was me and Bilal, business partner. You can take them, but they're your responsibility. If anything happens to them, I'm going to blame you. He was saying to his employees. And there was no street race. They arranged one.
Love it.
So they arranged a street race on the Tokyo Highway that you play in the games like Gran Turismo. And they put us in the car with the person who's got the record around that loop.
Oh my God.
It was amazing. I only had my phone, or I think I had a GoPro with me. I didn't have Matt with me, who normally does the filming. So I actually filmed it, and it's filmed on a potato, but I didn't care. It was awesome. It's like, and the video's got like 100 and something thousand views, because it's like people are like, wow, I can't believe that this stuff is actually still going on.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, that was like, you can't buy that. What can you buy that is going to stick in your head? No. It's such an experience like that. It was amazing.
No, absolutely. 110%. And as you say, like, my dad is still telling me stories about what he did in his Singer Vogue to this day, and he's 72.
Wow.
And these are the stories that I'll carry. Same as when I have my kids. Imagine when they're like 18, they're like, Mum, what were you doing when you were 25? And I was like, girl, I was bussing around in an E91, doing this, doing that. Like, it's just, their stories, aren't they? It just makes it's the tapestry of life. I'm getting very profound here. It is the rich tapestry of life. And I just think, and you know what, going out with someone like James as well, like, you meet James and he does not give a shit. I'm telling you, he is just like, things don't interest me, Becky. My friends, my family, my drifting, that's what I love. That's what I do.
Yeah.
He's just so much that way, and he's really changed the way that I think. I was the London girl, and a bit in rural Ireland, I'm like the yuppie London girl. Do you know what I mean? They're like, oh, look at her with her earrings and her boots. And they're just very much like, they love the crack, they love a night out, they just love doing things. And we're up in the mountain, covered in mud, trying to drag this chimney out, and he's like, "Are you loving it yet?" And I've fallen in love with that way of thinking, and I do think as the car thing goes on, because obviously I have to be in that slightly ostentatious world because of the cars. The same thing with you with the Lamborghini. Like, we all see it.
I'm not a Lambo guy. I'm not a Lambo guy. Honestly, I was driving that car, and honestly, it was a goal. I want, like, me and Bilal saw like a Verdi Mantis Huracan like 4 years ago when we were in Chicago, and we looked at it and we're like, we want that car. But honestly, when you drive it, I'm not to sound ungrateful, I'm glad I've ticked it off. It was one of those box checking exercises.
Yeah.
It is for someone, it's a flex car. I'll be completely honest.
I was going to make
100% it's a flex car.
I was going to make a really mean joke earlier. I was like, oh yeah, how's your Audi R8?
R8. No, I think Golf R is more apt, to be fair. But because being a BMW guy and having rear wheel drive, getting into it just feels too safe, if that makes sense. Is you can't like flick it out, and you can't like go around the corner slightly sideways. And it's I'm happy I've had it. And from a design perspective, it's amazing. It looks amazing, sounds amazing, drives like a Golf R essentially. But I'm not complaining.
But you know what it is? Like, how do you make something? And this is always my question. It's like, they want us to obey speed limits, and they want us to, but they still make cars which are 600 brake horsepower. And you put some dummy who's bought, not you, but some dummy who's bought a Lamborghini Huracan off the shelf, and you're like, how on earth are you supposed to drive that? Do you know what I mean? As I said, you've had a few moments in it, and you're an experienced driver.
Yeah.
And you're going to put somebody who's never, probably even some 18-year-old who's never driven a car in his life, but he's like, I want one of them because they look cool, and you put them in one of those, and they have to make them safe.
Yeah.
Have to. Like, I think they should give them driving lessons. It's like if you buy an 812 Superfast, you pretty much have to have driving lessons to have one, because they are mental. Yeah. Mental.
But let's be honest, I mean, even the Huracan, I'm used to powerful cars. It's fast. It is. It's, you forget. You forget it's 600 and something horsepower, and it revs really quickly, so it can kind of catch you unawares. But I think there has to be safe, just for the type of people that are buying it. I think people just cruise around in them. I don't think they actually.
Yeah, totally. I always found, you know where it is, where people get themselves into trouble, right? You're in first, you bang it, and then you bang it up into second, and you bang it into third, and it's that gear, that gear change is like a clutch kick, do you know? And it breaks the traction, and at that point, your wheel speed is so high, And that's where it all goes wrong. Do you know what I mean? Every video where if you see it with all, you just see him like, wow, bang. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's there because they've got so much wheel speed, because it is so, high revving, that it's so easy to get yourself into trouble. So easy. And when I say trouble, I don't mean in trouble with the police. I mean like in trouble with a curb.
Yeah, in trouble.
like your man in that video. Do you know the one where they're in London and they're on the car park?
Oh yeah.
And your man just gives it a quick blast, and then he's like left. It turns left straight into a parked car. And you're like, yeah, of course it is, because you're spinning your wheels. And so, see ya. Bye.
Yeah. Cool. Becky, it's been amazing having you on. I think you're a great role model for anyone who wants to get into content creation, especially, I know it's cliche, but the females out there, because you're showing that it's possible what you can achieve. I think what I'd love to do is get you back on when COVID's over and we can actually do it. I want to build a little studio at work and then do it in person. I think that'd be absolutely great. But thank you very, very much for coming.
Most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Cheers, Becky.
Cheers.